Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is time at long last for the Alienware Cup playoffs. This Alienware Cup brought to you by MasterCard as well as Alienware. I'm LD of Beyond the Summit. Merlini, do you have a MasterCard?
I unfortunately do not. I should get one though.
Yeah, get the hell out. I've been telling a lot of people.
Wrong person to ask.
I've been telling a lot of people to get the hell out lately. Failing, disappointing me, disappointing DPM. Of course. But guys, we've had a fantastic tournament so far. The group stages are over, and the results are in. DK and IG are your two top dogs, your 1 seeds. They have been brought directly into the semifinals of the winners bracket. Before we talk about the brackets, though, I would like to take a quick look at the group stage results and see how these teams got there, and just talk more about how everything went for you. Merlini, Group A you weren't here for, so we can actually start by talking about Group B. You were here for nearly all these games. What did you think of these teams, of these results? Was anyone particularly a standout for you? And it looks like IG versus Zenith, or we're missing maybe a game here or there on the standings, but
I think Navi was actually 1-7, and I guess there were a couple other games. I actually expected Navi to do a little bit better. I think I chose them as one of my top 2 finishers in Group B. They had a lot of close games, but a real shaky start after their arrival in Shanghai. And looking at the top, what you said that IG was a winner. I don't know what's wrong with these brackets. Kawa, tell them to get the hell out of here too.
The group stage results are not fully updated here, but yeah, IG is 6-2, and they had a tiebreaker over Orange because Orange had penalty points. So we could probably update that now. I believe Tongfu finished 4-4, Navi 1-7, and Zenith 2-6.
Yeah, Zenith and Navi.
I think that's right.
Clearly 2 of the weaker teams in the tournament. IG's been doing pretty strong too. They only dropped a couple of games, and I mean they were my favorite. Them and Navi.
Sorry, Tongfu 5-3. My apologies, Kawa. But otherwise, we have too many losses right now. We're being too harsh. We're giving 2 teams losses for the same game.
But most of the games were pretty close. I think only a couple of games lasted in that 20-minute range, which usually means it's pretty one-sided. But most of them are pretty evenly matched. A formidable group, to say the least.
Yeah, these teams are evenly matched. I think the big storyline for me is just how poorly Navi did. 1-7. They had just arrived there, but nonetheless, pretty.
And the only game they won was with Wisp.
Yeah, and against an Eastern team, generally not as experienced at playing against the Wisp. It was not their most impressive results, to say the least. But with that being said, Group A, I was here for nearly all these games. Luminous was as well. And on that note, we should actually introduce our casters quickly because we've got a very special guest in the house tonight. Guys?
Not us.
Yeah, not us. You've seen us before.
What the hell?
What the hell, man?
I was having fun at the swimming pool. You invited me for holidays.
You just came out like a soccer game.
Dude, I'm literally wearing shorts right now.
I'm sorry. Did you want a mojito?
You didn't tell me I was supposed to cast.
Do you need one of those little umbrellas to put in your drink?
Yes, please. 2. You never know when it's going to rain.
You can only get that.
Nothing's good enough for you, Bruno.
Shirt.
Nothing is good enough for this guy.
He needs a Hawaiian
It doesn't
shirt
rain in
mojito.
California.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't rain here.
Yeah. How are you, Lumi?
I'm doing fine.
Long time no
I came back from
see.
Vegas, so
Yes?
I don't know why I'm doing here either.
Great.
I was in the pool.
Let's go back to the pool.
Let's go back to the pool together.
Yes.
Let's go.
Right now.
Back to the analysts.
That was very harsh.
You guys just completely dropped the ball there at the end. You're like, no.
Group A was.
We want no
was
part of
alright.
this.
Yeah. Actually, I'm very surprised at LGD because they lost 2 games in the first 2 days because they had to give away default losses because Brax was at Hong Kong fixing Visa, and then they came back against MUFC, I believe.
That Visa meaning travel visa.
Yes.
Not the other
not
Visa.
the other
Oh,
one.
no, yeah, none of that Visa.
Don't
We don't want to get in trouble. That's a dirty word, Lumi. That's a dirty
My
word.
bad.
No more
My bad,
V
yes.
word from you.
Traveling Visa, and they came back and won both their games, which is pretty impressive. Granted, they did it against Rattlesnake and MUFC, I believe, which are perhaps the 2 of the weaker teams. But still, wins are wins.
Even Rattlesnake did better than expected in Group A. We could actually show the standings again, as I believe I didn't save it. Sorry. IG should have the tiebreaker with Orange. That's the only difference here. But it doesn't matter anyway for Group A. For Group A, I thought Rattlesnake did way better than anticipated. And LGD, obviously, only playing 4 games, winning all 4. Had they actually been able to play, might have finished 8-0 at the rate they were going. I don't think they would have taken down DK, and that was one of their forfeit losses. But that's just based on what I've seen from DK recently. So with that being said, these are our group results. we can now take a look at our playoff bracket. I'm actually going to double check it and make sure it looks reasonably accurate. I think it is correct. So here we go. The playoffs are upon us. This is your upper bracket. There is a loser's bracket, or a lower bracket as we call it. Everyone's a winner here at Beyond the Summit. Nobody gets eliminated today, but some teams will be knocked out. DK and IG, your 1 seeds from both groups, will be seeded directly into the winner's bracket. I guess it's the semi-finals, and then the finals will be that next match at the end. I'm good at reading brackets, guys. But yeah, 8 teams here. We have 4 best of 3s coming your way today. It is going to be a very long day, but a very awesome day.
Predictions for the first round?
LGD.int 2-1, Orange Esports 2-1, Navi 2-0, and Tungfu 2-0. Those are my predictions.
I think that LGD is going to beat Orange, especially judging by yesterday.
Really? It's online, though. And online matches, Orange Esports, for whatever reason, generally does better in online matches. That's kind of the knock on them. Team Liquid was actually taken to the extreme. They're like, well, clearly Orange is going to win tomorrow because they're a lot of Chinese netizens that post there. So
I see.
They're very biased against the non-Chinese teams. Haters.
So much hate.
Haters. But that's our predictions, I guess. Taking a quick look at the matches. Bruno, Lumi, what are your thoughts on the bracket? Do you see anything interesting that you want to talk about?
Personally, I think, and this is, I've talked about that with 1437. I don't know, what is his name? Is it Aaron now? Is he 1437 and he's changing names? Do you know about that?
I like 1437.
I will call him
1437.
1437.
Yeah.
Always, right. I believe that LGD.int is one of those teams that actually decided to just stick to what worked before 678. I've seen them pick, first pick Nikes a lot, considering that hero be very strong. I saw them still picking Magnus, Lone Druid, Nikes together.
Although not as high.
Not as high, of course. Now, Nikes was kind of the first pick for them. But I think it's one of those teams that is doing strong because they've been doing what works and what still works, so they're used to playing that kind of game style even though they didn't adjust to the new patch.
Right.
And as soon as the other teams start finding out what is strong right now, they will become slightly weaker and weaker.
Yep.
And even though they didn't lose a game because the only games they lost during the group stage were the ones they forfeited, I think Zenith, because of their unpredictability in terms of picks and game style, they can get at least 1 game from them, and I wouldn't be surprised if they take the series.
So do you think it's a 2-1 Zenith here?
I would think it's a 2-1 Zenith here.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. I think Zenith is a team that has higher potential in terms of individual skills. I feel their players are just some of the best in China, in South and East Asia combined.
Right.
And their hero pool is just vastly superior in my opinion. I'm going back to the days of solo mid-axes that did extremely well.
Right.
I'm talking about Timbersaw support. These are some of the things that we don't see any other teams ever even think about. And Zenith uses it and use it successfully.
Will we see Ice Invoker again?
We might see offlane Juggernaut, which is what he does too. So it's like
See, that's if I can just hijack the conversation for a second. Zenith is a prickly thing for me. I get up my back up about them. Which Zenith is it going to be? I feel like sometimes they show up, they pick XY's Tinker, they pick the Darkseer for Ice Ice Ice, they pick a fantastic carry for Yamate like a Gyrocopter, and then they just win by stalling the game, split pushing, farming Yamate, and then eventually they're too big to fail. But then there's this other Zenith. They ran an aggressive tri-lane, Treant, Sand King, +1. Do you realize how bad that tri-lane is? Treant and Sand King in the lane do nothing against any other heroes. That was painful for me to watch. But if Zenith draft right, I definitely do agree with you guys. We actually should be starting here soon, but we do want to run through the rosters as well as the hexagons quickly. We'll see what Bruno thinks of our hexagon ratings in just a second. LGD International, looking pretty suave. Pycat, your 1-position player. And what can I say? He's got good hair. G, God kill them all. Solo mid extraordinaire. He's been the engine, the heart and soul for this team. Recently has assumed the drafting role, and I would say the results have improved dramatically since that time. Brax, now back to the off lane. He's from California, our homeboy, if you will. He's feeling a little homesick from what I've heard. Playing pretty well in the off lane. I feel he's a lot more comfortable there. Misery, your 4-position player. Fantastic jungle, micro, flashy as far as the support goes. Last but not least, 1437, or Aaron now. And Merlini is cracking up for some reason.
Nah, it's pretty good. I played a couple of games with these players way back in the day. I saw PyCat go from just playing in in-house leagues, and I seen him develop into a phenomenal player. And same with Misery, one of the Danish players. Relatively old school, one of the fantastic supports. I'm rooting for LGD.int. I've always been a fan of them and their roster.
Aged like a fine wine. And Bruno wants to hop in.
I want to see I'm seeing the hexagons right now. It's like my first real life experience with hexagons, and I have to wonder because there's like these so perfect things. What's the worst rating you've ever given a team?
0, 0, 0, 0, 0.
Have you?
Yeah.
What team?
It was by accident.
Because I mean, to me, really, it looks like these websites that review games.
Yeah.
Like whenever a new
Everything's
game,
an 80.
Yeah.
Come on, these teams are all going to
Mediocre,
TI3.
8.9.
These teams are all going to TI3. How low can you really rate one of the best 16 teams in the world?
Yeah, but I mean,
You got to leave room to go down for the tier 2 teams, the tier 4 teams.
At the same time, what if you like just rank the teams individually? Like in drafting, you just grab all the 8 teams. How many teams are playing now? 10. 10 teams.
10 teams.
Yeah, that's perfect. You just
And
have,
you can only have 110?
yeah, you can only, because it's the best team at drafting. And that.
I agree with this. Everything's just 7 through 10, so you might as well just expand to 7, drop them all the way down to 1, and then 10 you can keep 10.
And it's more like
All right.
It tells you a little bit more.
We'll take it under advisement. We're going to see how mad people get when their favorite teams have 1s, Bruno.
they can blame me. They can blame me.
You can bring the fire hose
I mean, in
because
the
the flames will be going absolutely nuts. But we will introduce our second team here now. It's going to be their opponents, Team Zenith, the Singapore, now Malaysian mix, Singaporean Malaysian mix. Yamate. He's been around for a while, known for his Shadow Fiend. Used to be one of the most dominant solos in the scene. Had a good run with RNG Sports, but Mushi is too effing pro, so he's left him. Their second player, their 2 position. And my personal favorite player on this team is XY. He plays a mean Tinker. He has played Slark. We've seen him on other heroes, but for me, his Tinker is just leaps and bounds beyond anything else in the Asian scene today. Would love to see some more of it. Ice, 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 Troll extraordinaire. Your off-laner, cheeky, obnoxious, and knows how to get under his opponent's
There's
skin.
no Darkseer on there.
No Darkseer. Yeah, we do need to update that one. X Freedom, your 4-position player, probably should have a Treant Protector and a Quelling Blade instead of a hero icon because he was doing work with that earlier. But often plays some of your jungle heroes as well as those utility supports. And Ice, your 5-position, probably the most chill player on this team. And well, not chill, but sort of doesn't have the flashiest plays, I guess you could say. Zenith, lots of skill, lots of talent. Very, very inconsistent. And Merlini, I guess I've said it
I
perfectly.
agree with you there. I mean, that's all there is to it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now ready to hop into Game 1, so we'll introduce our casters officially once again, and then we'll get underway. It's going to be Zenith versus LGD International, best of 3. Your Alienware Cup playoffs brought to you by MasterCard, Alienware, and DPM Interactive are starting now.
And here we are.
Yeah. It's a long time since we casted.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, like most people learned about me at TI2, but this guy was the guy I first casted with. It was a long, long time ago.
I took his casting virginity.
Yeah,
That's all I'm going to say.
it was an unforgettable experience.
It was. I think we should jump into the
Memories.
game now.
Yes.
That's enough awkward moment. All right, it's going to be LG Gaming International on the Radiant side here, and Zenith on the, well, Dire. Darkster and Alchemist is going to be the first 2 pick, and meanwhile Visage and Lifestealer is going to be LG's first 2. So Alchemist is a hero that you haven't seen too much in the Western scene. What do you think about this hero, and do you really think that he's deserving the high first pick that a lot of the Asian teams have been picking him up for?
The good thing about Alchemist is his versatility. We've seen, I think the Eastern scene sometimes put him in the solo mid position. And we can also, of course, see him as a tri-lane carry because he has a stun, which is something that is very valuable in offensive tri-lanes. You can have him as a support, and you can have him in the solo safe
Yeah,
lane.
like the mouse sport.
Yeah, exactly. So there's so much that you can do with that hero that, of course, probably right now, if you're looking at it that way, he's probably considering going either carry or solo mid. But it just doesn't say much about your draft. So it's a very good pick to start with because it forces your enemy to think as well, what do I lane against him? Do I put a strong solo mid and then he probably get a better solo mid and just put him in the 1 position? I think it's a very versatile pick and maybe a little bit too strong at the moment.
I think he's fine. I mean, his ultimate is his stack growth is very lackluster, and his ultimate is what takes him to the next level.
Right.
To me, Grievous Grease is one of the most broken passive in the game. It just allows you to catch up in a lot of times we see a solo mid alchemist that doesn't do so well, and then late game hits, you give him 40 minutes of free farm because games just take that long.
Right.
And then he just becomes the one row carry from your solo mid position, which is pretty bonkers. But let's talk about some of the other heroes. As we see, Darkseer and Jakiro is going to be the backup for Alchemist, and that's going to give them a ton of AoE and some decent laning to boot. Meanwhile, Visage and Lifestealer, I imagine, is going to be the kind of tri-lane specialist for both of them.
Yeah.
And anything that you want to talk about in terms of the bans, we do see Trian being banned out. I think as cool as the hero is, I don't really think he's ban worthy, although...
Oh, no, I have to disagree with you there. Maybe
Okay.
it's part of just me watching a lot of Western Dota.
You've
I
seen
mean,
a lot of DD and Quantic. so-
Quantic knows how to play that hero better than pretty much anyone in the scene at the moment right
Right,
now.
and I don't think
I don't
anybody...
think Zenith is up to Quantic standard, but still, it's a hero that forces you. I put Treant in the same bag I put Wisp.
Okay.
Like, you know, when you play Wisp, it forces your enemy to play different.
Maybe not on the same level of
No,
Wisp.
yes, in the same level of Wisp, because I mean, it's of course different things. When you play Wisp, you can't just farm by yourself.
Right.
You have to play as 5, or you have to play at least a 2 or 3, unless you have a hero that has a very quick way of escaping the Wisp gank, or a Disruptor, which is always fun against Wisp. But on the other side, for Tree, you can't play aggressive tri-lanes unless you are very, very sure that you're going to kill. You can't play a 1v1 matchup where either you want to dive or you expect to be dived.
Right.
Because, for example, we see Tree Van and Weaver Van. If you see Tree and Weaver, now that Weaver can make your life impossible under your tower, and there's pretty much nothing that you can do about it. Just the fact that there's a tree in your lane, not even your lane, just in the game.
In the game? Yeah.
Forces you every lane to work differently. You can't trade for hits. Mid lane is completely different because you can't just hope to get an auto attack for an auto attack because the tree, like the armor, will regen you so fast. So I actually value that hero quite a lot.
Yeah, you talked about the laning stage. I mean, a little bit more underrated part of him is during the kind of more mid-game when teams decide to trade towers in terms of pushes. Living Armor makes those pushes a lot slower for the enemy
Yeah.
teams. If you don't get the tower, well, it's going to go back to full HP. So there's definitely a ton of utility for that particular hero, but we're not going to see that hero here today as it is being banned out by LGD Gaming. We do see Queen of Pain being selected, most likely as a solo mid. We've seen a lot of Darkseer yesterday from LGD China, particularly as a solo mid position. We definitely seen Alchemist in the past. I personally believe that Queen of Pain will beat both of them. So, unless Zenith throws something else against Queen of Pain mid.
Darkseer does okay against Queen of Pain, I think. I mean, it loses in terms of harass, but Darkseer
And denies.
and denies, but Darkseer will still get what he wants. I was going to call the Naga Siren, Jesus! Why did
It's
they
okay.
stop?
We got like
Okay,
11 more
okay.
games. Calm down.
No, but I knew that Naga Siren was coming. You know, you see Jakiro, you see Darkseer,